Okay, good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Alex and Mo I Am a PT podcast. This is episode number 5. We hope that everyone had a very terrific Tuesday. The weather was actually beautiful in Maryland. It was a pre-spring weather. Actually walked outside with a lot of my patients today. Adding to my step count, I think I am 16,785 steps. Man, I'm doing great.
Killing it.
Yeah. So how was the weather in Tampa, Alex?
Today was a little cloudy. Just had a little bit of rain not too long ago. You know, over the weekend, obviously I was not in Florida, as those who saw on Twitter. So we were up in North Carolina for a little bit long weekend. My oldest, is on spring break this week, so we
Okay.
went up to the mountains, got to see snow, which for my kids was the first time. We went with my
Nice.
wife's best friend and her family. They had never seen snow either. So it was pretty cool experience for everybody to kind of see snow. Some other people will see like on the ground, but we actually got to see it kind of coming down. So it was pretty cool. A lot of fun. Uh, yeah, it was a nice little getaway, recharge, and kind of get things rolling for spring break for the little ones. They're actually over in my room with my wife watching Jurassic World. My son's into dinosaurs, so I told him
Oh,
I'd be back for the tail end of the movie when everybody gets eaten alive.
okay. Yeah, my
How was your weekend?
nephew. My weekend was pretty good too. Traveled out of town again, so I was in cold weather because I was in the Midwest, so I did get to experience snow again. I forgot my coat, which was a big mistake. But I'm getting tougher handling
Uh,
the
yeah,
colder weather.
that Caribbean
But
blood's getting thicker.
yep, definitely. But it's always good to use the weekends to recharge and spend time with family and make memories. So I'm glad the boys got to see and actually play in snow for the first time. So I hope you guys continue to make more memorable trips for them because, we, especially in our profession, glamorize overworking and, wanting to be the hardest work. And uh, burnout can be toxic. So, if you have the opportunity to take time, spend with family, take the weekends off, go on a small road trip or, fly somewhere that's affordable and just make memories. You can
Absolutely.
always make more money. You can always make more money, but you can't create more time or more memories. So,
Absolutely. I mean, even before we had kids, I've always kind of taken to where I take 1 day a month off from work, minimum 1 day a
mhm.
month, just a day to recharge. To At that time it was just me and my wife, so spend time with my wife. Now it's the kids. But absolutely, I mean, burnout. We've mentioned it before. Obviously, it's a topic of discussion that we kind of run into on Twitter pretty frequently. I want to say more frequently now than probably in the past. But yeah, I mean, it's real easy to kind of get into that grind mode. And don't get me wrong, I'm all about grinding, and things aren't just going to fall in your lap. When you want to, set goals, you have to work for them. But it's a balance. It's a balance because you burn yourself out and you've got nothing then to give your family. If you're so tired and worn out from everything, you come home and you're just spent. It's hard to do those things, but absolutely, like you said, you can make more money. You can't get time back. Once it's gone, it's gone. We don't get to replay it. We don't get to do anything. And ever since having the boys, that is a priority for us, where we try to make as many memories as we can, so that as they grow, they have some good stuff to remember. And then it kind of plants the seed in them to that they can, try to do those things when they have a family of their own. I'm a huge proponent of taking time off, doing fun, because it's not all about work. I don't, I, I'm not. and I hope I get this right without messing it up, but I don't work to live. No, I see, I'm already getting it wrong, but
Mhm.
I live my life, and work is a part of it. Work is not my life. So
Uh, well, my priorities definitely did change after I lost my dad. Because yes, I was a workaholic. I worked all the time. I was hustling. I was grinding, and besides, I was building a business as well too. But you know, hearing him when he used to say, what are you trying to save stuff for tomorrow for? Just do it now and live your life. And I would be telling him, look, dude, you're getting too old to do certain things. And he would like, I'm not gonna stop until I die. Well, he lived each day the way he wanted to, and he enjoyed it. So I respected that part about him. And you know, what are we working so hard to do to provide for our families? But a lot of kids, they don't necessarily want the material stuff. They want you present at their games, at their shows, at their rehearsals and stuff like, you actually teaching them stuff and getting to know them and them getting to know you. So every opportunity you get to do that, no matter what, just take the time to do so. And what I'm realizing as I'm getting more into studying the Bible is that even God rested each day after he created something and admired it. And how many of us actually do that? We don't take that time to enjoy what we've accomplished or what we have enjoyed. We just try to move on to the next thing, the next thing, the next thing. And man, it becomes tedious.
Yeah, and you bring up a good point about sitting back and admire. Like I tweeted a picture this weekend of my family. We were at a waterfall, which was like the coolest thing ever, with snow around it and everything. So it was very cool. But what I said about it was that it's nice to see the fruits of my labor, um, because we're always on the go. I get
Yeah.
home and it's the grind. The grind changes from work grind to father husband grind, and then you get tired, go to bed, wake up, and you do it again. And it's real easy to get lost in that, if you have nothing outside of work, even more so, right? Because if you're young, up and coming, single, really no responsibilities but to yourself, it's very easy to just work, 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 work. On the weekends, yeah, I may hang out with some
That
friends.
was me. That was me.
On the weekends, I may hang out with friends or whatever, but then work, 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 work. And again, you have to work. Like, aside from the fact you got to make money and pay bills, when you're trying to be an entrepreneur, when you're trying to build something from the bottom, you got to work. You got to put in the time. But along the way, take a break to A, recharge, B, look how far you've come, because you're making progress, and that progress is what helps keep you going. It's no different than when we work out and we have goals for we working out. Most commonly, people work out to lose weight or to look a certain way. When you start to take a moment to look in the mirror and see those changes happening, it's very easy to be motivated and keep going. But if you just got your head down and you can't appreciate the process, it's hard to really understand when you've met your goal, let alone be able to appreciate that you've met your goal, because you've just lost track of what it is. And yeah, I mean, burnout is tough, and it happens to the older, seasoned vets in the profession, and even the younger ones. They're coming out because school is a grind. You're
Yep.
in school grinding, grinding, and then you get out of school and you're like, I got to get a job, I got to make a paycheck, and you're working two and three jobs, maybe just trying to make ends meet, or whatever the case. Because that's what I did when I finished PT school. I was working a regular Monday through Friday, then I was picking up shifts at the hospital on the weekends. Just grinding, 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 and
Guilty too. Guilty. Guilty here.
so you got to take a break. You got to take a break. And that's kind of after about a couple of years of me working, I was like, you know what? Like, once a month, I'm just going to take a day off, and do nothing or do something. Like I said, at that point, it was just me and my wife. So, but
Okay.
yeah, you gotta balance, because it's as much physical as it is mental. The mental health component is real. Uh, even the most positive of positive people like myself, there's days where I'm like, man, I'm in it and I'm struggling, and you just need to kind of take a step back and realize everything that you've got going on.
Yeah. So you got to refill, because you can be your best on an empty tank, and no one will be able to enjoy what you are purposefully living for if you're not refueled. So just take the time. Speaking about mental health, um, I briefly viewed the episode on Michael Beasley on the pivot today, and I noticed he was expressing that he sought help, but a lot of people, took it as a joke, and it really crushed him. I'm also seeing that Delonte West is trying out for that Big Three league that they have, the Ice Cube league,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
and even in the news, even with Kanye West, all the troubles that he's having, and AB last week on the pivot as well too. So you're seeing a lot of these wealthy black men with issues, mental health issues, and a lot of people are dismissing it and taking it as a joke. And I see comments like, "What do they have to worry about? They have money." Um, we've said here on this episode that money can buy you happiness, and it's time for us to stop trivializing the plights of black and brown men when they express that they do need help, because a lot of them have trauma that they've never healed from, and they don't know how to express it. So if they are seeking help, crying out for help, stop joking about they're just a weed head, or just getting tattoos and stuff out. Listen and try to allow them to get that help.
No,
So
absolutely. I mean, I think that uh, you know Michael Beasley's, story, for those who follow the NBA and stuff, kind of know what his deal has been, and he's had on and off issues with drugs. Delonte West, same thing, and I hadn't heard about the Big Three thing, but his story is kind of crazy because he was in the NBA, lost it all. At one point, was on the streets.
yeah, he
Um,
was homeless here in Maryland.
yeah, and Mark Cuban found out, tried to help him out, got him into rehab down here in Florida somewhere, and it's kind of helped him, which was a nice thing for Mark Cuban to do as a former boss of his. Uh, but yeah, it's real easy to dismiss uh, somebody's cries for help, especially of minority men. Um, again, and when you make the comment about the money, like you said, money doesn't buy you happiness. There's a lot of wealthy people who are unhappy with their lives. There's a lot of wealthy people
Yep.
that they have sacrificed so much to obtain that wealth that now they are left with nothing but that wealth. Um, and,
And you
and
can't enjoy it.
and they can't enjoy it, right? And then on that same note, you have people who have no money and are happiest people on this earth, right? So money does facilitate things. Like we can't sit here and lie. Money does
Hmm.
facilitate certain things, but if if in between your ears and inside you're not right, then it's going to be very hard to be right with anything else.
Yep. We have a lot of high functional, dysfunctional people walking around. We work with them. Some of us are in relationships with them. We might be one of them. So, um, no matter what it takes, get help if you need to. I mean, I I've sought therapy, especially grief counseling. It has helped me a lot. So nothing's wrong with it. So if you need to get it, get it.
Absolutely. I mean, myself, I went through some therapy last year. There's a little bit challenging stuff going on. And I knew that it was something that, I didn't feel right. So
Hmm.
I knew that I needed some professional assistance in just trying to kind of figure things out. And sometimes that's all you need is just to talk to somebody, but somebody who is not a participant in your day-to-day life to kind of give you a bit of different perspective. So yeah, I mean, there's absolutely nothing wrong with getting the help. And as a man, a lot of times we're like, well, men are hard-headed or men don't like to ask for directions, and that whole thing. But when you need help, you need help, man, and you got to be right, and you got to be fearless in the decision for help, because in the long run it'll pay off greatly. And suffering in silence is not beneficial to anybody. So yeah, if you need help, reach out. For the people that follow us on Twitter and the ones that don't, if you ever need help, man, I mean, I know I can, pretty sure I can speak for Mo that we're both always available to help with whatever we can. It's pretty cool. I've had people reach out to me on Twitter, um, just from my experiences in home health, and them wanting either guidance, or students reaching out to me like, hey, in about another year or two I'm going to be out, I hope we can keep in touch. And absolutely, man, I mean, part of why we do this is to help others, to hopefully help some people not make some of the same mistakes that we made, um, and just to help listen. That is the motto of our podcast, is to just kind of listen, absorb it, and then be able to put it into action in one way or another.
Do you think, like, traditionally, like in our culture, black and brown culture, that we don't take mental health seriously, especially with men? Because I'm sure you've heard the term like "boys don't cry, just man up." You're supposed to be like the man of the house. Just forget about it and move on. And people don't get the time to deal with issues. So growing up with that mentality or that culture probably makes it difficult for a lot of these financially successful guys to deal with emotional issues when they do encounter them.
Yeah, I mean, I think, and the most of the athletes in your major leagues, your NFL, your NBA, a lot of these guys, they don't come from much, right? So from day one, they've had to be this tough person, whether real or made up. They've had to be this tough person, because they have to endure so much. They have to go through so many obstacles. They have to just a lot of battles, right? So when you, as a young person, having to be this tough person, um, saying I need help, it can be perceived as a sign of weakness, and can't really put that weakness on display, because then others may think you're weak, and they use it as a point to come at you, or whatever the case may be. I can speak for myself. Growing up, my parents were always very supportive, but I never once heard even mention of, hey, like, anybody, like, in general, just mental health, like, that just wasn't something that was discussed, um, in my family. But again, even in my environment, like school, whatever, it just wasn't something that you openly heard about, let alone discussed. And I think that here in the last couple of years, there's been a huge movement by multiple professional athletes to kind of bring awareness to it, and I think it's a good thing. And I think that the COVID pandemic kind of forced some people to reevaluate those things, because it's been a huge shock to the system as to how we function and what we do as individuals, and all those things, and like our normal way of life being changed, people having to stay home, and just a lot of different changes happened all at once. It kind of, just made things very difficult.
Uh, True. That's so true. I know in my household we were told to pray about stuff and to ask God for help, and nothing against prayer. I mean, it does work wonders, but you God blessed individuals to become trained psychologists and psychiatrists, so utilize them as well.
Absolutely.
So moving on, your boy is coming back into the NFL. Man, he probably spent a few weeks at home and he was like, "Nah, I ain't doing
Yeah,
this.
he ain't
I'm
just
I'm 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 going back to training camp. It's easier than
yeah,
having to." How many kids
yeah.
does he have? Like 4 or 5?
He's got, I think he's got about 4 or 5. I know he had one before Giselle, and then I think he's got
uh,
like 3 or 4 with her. Uh, yeah, I was up in the mountains when everything started coming through, and of course my brother-in-law is a huge Bucks fan. He starts blowing me up. But yeah, and then right away all the jokes came out, like, hey, Tom was at the house. Giselle said, since you're not busy today, I want you to do X, Y, and Z. And he's like, no, I'm done. I'm gone. I'm heading back to the league. This is too much of stress here to be a dad. And, it's kind of crazy. I always thought when he retired that it wasn't right. I didn't
mhm.
think he was going to fit like going out losing to the Rams the way that they did. I felt like that was just going to leave like a sour taste in his mouth, just because of the type of competitor that he is. Uh,
So you
so
feel like he has something to prove, that's why he returned back?
I just think he's such a competitor, does not like to lose, and if he's going to go out, I feel like he's kind of like what LeBron has said since in the NBA. It's like,
Hmm.
I'll leave when I know my game can't speak for itself, so to speak, right? So,
Okay.
like, I feel like Brady can still play. He can still play. As crazy as
Oh,
that sounds, as crazy as
he
it sounds,
can.
like he can still play. And I think that he probably had some time to reevaluate and say, I didn't really like the way that we finished. I feel like, I could almost feel like he could have said like I could have done more or I could have done this different. And as long as you got that fire inside, man, like I think like you're gonna be able to compete. Like, but again, it's one thing to have that fire and your skills aren't there to go with it. But he can still
Right.
play. He can still play. He still got the fire. I think also too, like even going into this past season, it was almost like the whole retirement thing was like forced on him because he's been for the last couple seasons talking about retirement, saying how his wife wants him to be at home and he wanted to be at home. But
Hmm.
he's such a some of these guys are just such a structural person, which is funny because if you saw the Pivot podcast with Darren Whaler, they talk about how
Hmm.
the off season is the hardest part because they don't have structure, right? During the season, they have
Hmm.
structure. There's a specific way that their days go, day in and day out. It's the same thing. Then they get to the off season and they have this freedom, and they're like, "Well, what am I doing? What do I do now?"
Hmm.
And granted, Brady's got ton of businesses, things that he's got going on. So I mean, he can stay busy from that standpoint. But I think
Yep.
ultimately he just has that fire. His skills are still there. And I kind of like Tampa Tom. You know, he's a cool guy. He's funny on Twitter. He's a pretty good follow. Um, so
he
yeah, I mean,
definitely is. I mean, he had to fit the persona on the Bill Belichick when he was at the Patriots, but he's more open, he's more free spirited. I mean, I like the jokes that he gives. I honestly thought he would have probably retired when they won the Super Bowl in Tampa. So I was surprised he actually came back another year. Maybe he expected that they would repeat it. But a lot of things didn't end right last season. Even the stuff with AB walking off the field, with Bruce Arians, and so and the way the news broke, it was sketchy. But I really feel bad for that guy or who, whatever company purchased that final touchdown ball for $500,000. Now it's every time Brady scores a touchdown, it's gonna be devaluing
I feel like there's got to
his.
be some clause or something that's like, hey, this is not really an official last touchdown. You can return it. That man, talk about somebody who's not so happy right now with Tom Brady.
Well, I know Tom Brady is not gonna go out of his way like he did when Mike Evans gave away that ball when he scored the touchdown, and give that person Bitcoin and a season ticket to
Yeah,
the Bucks game. So no, it's not gonna be a situation like that. But you're right. He's very competitive. He's very driven. I do believe he still has the skills. Hopefully, his offensive line will be protecting him as they typically do, so he could avoid getting a lot of hits. So, but he still has a lot to contribute to the game. He is still an elite quarterback. I do believe if he returns, that they're gonna end up in the playoffs again. So, and of course, people are gonna want to come play with him. So he's gonna be loaded with wide receivers and tight ends. So I'm not worried, but he's like Michael Jordan. You retire, you come back, you
he's
get
earned
another
that
great
though.
run.
He's earned
I
that.
I
So
just hope he's not gonna be the Michael Jordan that played with the Wizards. So
now I think Brady's got too much of an ego to let that happen.
hmm oh, okay.
I think
So
I think it goes with the comment I made earlier about if he I feel he's got enough sense to know like when I can't do it, I can't do it, and I'm not going to go out there and be uh, average at best, right? Because I think LeBron has said something along those lines. He's like, when I'll stop playing when I know I can't do it.
well,
Um,
I know LeBron definitely wants to play a year with his older son. I would love to see that happen as well too. So I hope I am around and full cognitive state to witness that
yeah,
greatness happen too. So right now there's a war going on, Russia and Ukraine, and last week we spoke about the inequality of pay between men and women sports, and the WNBA and the NBA came up. And as we mentioned, a lot of WNBA players don't make as much money as they would if they play internationally. So one of those players, Brittany Griner, she makes roughly about 200 and something $1,000 playing with she plays with Phoenix Mercury, and she also plays overseas in Russia, where she earns about $1 million for the season. Now the sport is very popular in Russia. She's been doing that for years, so I'm sure she knows the rules of traveling. However, unfortunately, she was caught with some sort of hash that they use in vape. I don't smoke, so I don't particularly know what exactly it is. And apparently, it's illegal to travel with it. So she was arrested. And I think she has been in prison in Russia for the past few weeks. So people are asking for answers and for her to be released, and blaming the inequality of pay that is forcing these women to be playing overseas. Again, it has to do with market value. Rules are rules. I would like to see her free and back at home with her family, but we can't blame, again, inequality of pay for this situation.
yeah. I mean, the crazy thing about it is that it took so long for us to kind of hear about it. Um, she's
It's Russia,
she's
man. It's Russia.
well, it's Russia, but like she has communication. I mean, she's a very well known female athlete. She played
hmm
at Baylor, so she's known, and the fact that it just took so long for us to find out was kind of crazy. Again, like you said, it's Russia. Uh, she is a gay basketball player, so that doesn't bode well for her in Russia because we know, that 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 community is not well received in the Russian society. So
Yep.
obviously, a lot of different things at play that are kind of hindering this process. Um, I'd like to think like you know what you're dealing with. Like you have to be aware of what's going on. So if you're gonna travel, just some of the things. But like I said, I don't know enough about what it is that she was caught with or anything like that. So I don't want to make any pass any type of judgment. But it is an unfortunate situation that hopefully can get resolved sooner rather than later. But it's just lesson
Mm.
to be learned to just especially when you're traveling abroad, just probably be a little bit more on the conservative side of what you do and don't do while traveling. I mean, if you ever watched that show Locked Up Abroad on the National Geographic, that's some crazy stuff. Uh, so
No, I've never watched an episode, but
it's
I can
crazy.
tell some stories.
It's crazy the things that that people do, and some fully aware, others very naive. But doing stuff like that in other countries, I mean, it's bad enough to do it here in the U.S. Like you don't want to be doing stuff like that, or
Mm.
even just misunderstood or misinterpreted in another country. Um, yeah, it's an unfortunate thing. So hopefully, it gets situated pretty quickly, and like you said, she can get back over here with her family and friends.
Yes. Well, unfortunately, we don't have a Trump in office to free ASAP Rocky like he did when he was in Sweden, but different country, different times. So, well, you and I both watched the Genius documentary with Kanye West, and we were excited because during the first episode, the dentist recommended for Kanye West to get physical therapy when he complained that he was getting locking off the jaw and he wasn't able to open it fully. And we do have physical therapists who specialize in TMJ disorders, the temporomandibular joint, which is in your jaw. However, we never got to see Kanye West going to physical therapy, or we never found out if he did. So there are a lot of people who get referred to physical therapy by a doctor or even to home health when they get discharged from the hospital or rehab and they decline PT. A lot of times it's because they don't know what physical therapy is and they think they don't need it. And then they're home for a couple of days and they're struggling to get up and down the stairs, get up, get on and off the toilet, get in and out of their sofa, um, even walk from the bedroom to the kitchen to cook a meal. So if people do not know what physical therapy is and what it has to offer, they're going to decline the services. If things are not in place, and we have been asking for direct access in all 50 states, if things are not in place for people to readily come to physical therapy, whether it's outpatient or to receive home health, we're going to have people falling into that black hole. So tonight we're going to discuss barriers to access to physical therapy and ways in which we can improve it. And when this episode is shared, we appreciate if we could get feedback from the rest of the PT community and even clients or caregivers of loved ones who need physical therapy, if you can provide feedback to us as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think probably the most biggest barrier, in my opinion, is people just don't know what it is that we do, um, or don't fully understand what we do. They probably have a very basic idea as to what we do, probably some sort of exercise. You have to work, or some may perceive it as like, oh, you guys give massages, right? So I think the hardest thing to overcome is to educate the public. Um, historically, we've always depended on other people to bring patients to us, so to speak. So referrals. We need physicians. We need hospitals, rehab centers, whatever the case, to bring us patients. Um, and a lot of times it's just patients following orders. Well, why are you here? Well, the doctor told me to come. Like, I don't know. The doctor just said I had to come here. Right. So, I think as a whole, we need to try to do better just educating patients. I know, like for me personally, when I'm getting done with patients in the home health setting and I feel that they need more or they're going to benefit from outpatient, I try to educate them, A, as to why they need outpatient, B, how outpatient is different from what I'm doing, and how what they're doing could be of benefit to you. Because I'm upfront with all my patients. I'm like, look, I don't want to waste your time. I will come here and do what I need to do if you want me to. If you don't want me to, after I've explained to you what I'm going to do, then that's fine. You don't see the value in it, and that's okay. And not every body is going to see the benefit in physical therapy. Some do, some don't.
Mm.
But educate them, give them the knowledge, give them the tools to understand what it is that I do, understand what that next person may do, and see how that fits into them. Because just blindly telling somebody, hey, you need to go to outpatient. Okay, why? Why do I need to go to outpatient? You were just here. What are they going to do for me that you can't do or haven't already done for me? Right. Another thing I try to educate them on is because here in Florida, we do have direct access. Like,
Mm.
look, I'm telling you, I feel like you need this. If you feel like you need this, make a phone call. Here's some places I would recommend, and just tell them what you want and need. You don't need to wait on your doctor, right? And I think putting it in like very simple terms kind of helps them understand. You tell them direct access, like you can just show up. Like, but why? Why? What is that? How does that help me? Why is that important? Um, but it's opening those doors, and a lot of times patients don't even know that those doors exist. Um, and if we don't educate them, again, it kind of like to the example I had given in another episode, like you could be the best therapist, but if you can't connect with a person, it doesn't matter. So you can still be the best therapist, but if they don't know that you exist or they don't know how to get to you, your skills don't matter.
So, do you think we are bad at sales? Bad
Absolutely.
at educating about value?
I think we're bad at sales. We have to sell ourselves. A
Okay.
lot of people are scared of that. A lot of therapists are scared of selling themselves or selling anything, right?
So we've
Like,
we've we've technically been like an auxiliary profession, a subordinate profession, and I believe that's a mentality that a lot of therapists have, and that creates a problem when it comes to educating the general public about what we are capable of doing and the scope of what we can do. Also, perception is reality. You tend to see people flocking to CrossFit or to gym or wanting a personal trainer because there's a clearly defined role that they have. They will go to a massage therapist because the massage therapist has a clearly defined role. They would spend money, cash, use Visa card or their flexible spending accounts for CrossFit, for a massage therapist, for a personal trainer. But they probably won't do that for physical therapy because they're like, what are they gonna get me to do? So I mean, we have to get better at presenting ourselves as healthcare providers to help people to feel good, look good, and move better. And we've not been doing a good job at it. I mean, I would actually rate, or if I had to grade us, I'll probably give us a C average, or probably even lower.
that's probably being generous. I mean, you
Yes.
use two different groups of individuals, massage
Mm.
therapists and CrossFit uh, boxes, instructors, whatever. But what do those two people or groups do. They sell themselves.
Hmm.
They sell themselves. Come to CrossFit.
And
You can look like this individual, male or
uh,
female. Pick
yeah,
one. Pick one.
yeah.
I can get you there. Oh, you
But
want to lift. Like I think
uh,
I think it was shared probably in the fall winter, but there was a commercial made for physical therapy. I want to say it was Australia, but it
mhm.
was an older gentleman working out in his garage, lifting up stuff because his ultimate goal was to lift up his grandkids.
Oh
So
yes, I saw that,
you know what I'm
and
talking
it was
about?
very moving. Yes, it was
Yes.
very moving.
But
Yeah.
see, we, and I'm not putting this on the APTA because it's not on the APTA to do it
No, it's
all.
on us. It should be on us
But
individually. It should be
but
on us.
but that commercial sold, in my opinion, what we do into a day-to-day thing. And that's the thing, like we can make impact on many people's lives across different spectrums, age, male, female, whatever. There's so many different things we can do, but we don't know how to connect. We don't know how to connect with people. We don't know how to sell. We're not taught that in school. We're taught evaluation, assessment, strength training, modalities. At no point in school, they're like, hey, how are you going to sell yourself? How are you going to differentiate yourself from the next physical therapist? What if you decide you want to open up your business? What are you going to do? Like, we're not taught that. People have to learn that on their own. And people are scared, rightfully so. It's scary to put yourself out there. But again, going
It's
back to
scary. Do you think it's scary? Because I see people actively trying to sell physical therapy, to sell themselves, to put themselves out there so consumers could come directly to them. And there's some people doing some awesome job on Instagram and on Twitter, but they get pushback from people in our own community,
yeah,
making comments that you shouldn't be positioning yourself as an expert or guru, or what you're promoting is snake oil, or it's a lot of argument back and forth, but we're not giving each other that room to sell the product
yeah.
that we have.
Because again, I just think it's like an ingrown thought that we don't sell.
Scarcity mindset,
Yeah,
scarcity
we
mindset.
don't sell. We don't sell. We don't sell. Physical
Yep.
therapists don't. We don't sell. We wait. We wait for somebody to just come to us because that's how it's always been.
What did
It's
Jay-Z tell Kanye?
closed mouth don't get fed.
All right.
Closed mouth don't get fed. And
So,
and another one is kind of like scared money don't make money.
right.
Like
So
you've got to put yourself out there. And I just think that as a profession, we're behind. I've seen uh these stretch clinics coming out where people pay money just to get stretched, right?
and we can do that.
We can do that, but why haven't we? Because nobody thinks to say like, hey, let me advertise this. Let me put this in your face. Let me show you what I can do. But then some business professional that's never treated or seen a person in their life as a healthcare professional says, stretch. Everybody
So
wants to
do
stretch.
you think our license kind of limit us with opening certain things like the stretch box, or like even like a Pilates studio or like yoga stuff? Because I've heard people complain that they feel that our license restricts us when it comes to certain things. But I'm seeing a lot of physical therapists who are actively engaging in opening their own CrossFit boxes. And even like PT and Ice, they do a lot of instructions on CrossFit. So, and they've definitely been thinking outside the box.
I don't think it's our license. I think it's each individual practitioner. You limit yourself.
Okay.
If you set barriers on your own journey, Like
Hmm.
you can't sit and point the finger. You got to look in the mirror and say, "Hey, what am I doing to make my own path?" See, like again, I just feel like forever the path has been like follow this path. Somebody's going to give you referrals. You need to go to a doctor's office, tell the office manager to send you patients, and you just keep going down this path and see what happens. Like, you know, you've got to put yourself out there. You've got to think outside the box, and we see it because there are people in our profession who are successful doing so, thinking outside
Yep.
the box, not necessarily going to the doctors, but going to the clients. Like, what other profession, what other business advertises to everybody but the person they're trying to get in the door?
Wasting all this money buying doctors' lunches and
We don't do
getting
that.
one referral every.
Yeah. Like, our profession goes and advertises to everybody but the end user.
Yep.
But
So
then we're going to
of course
say
there's
that our
gonna be.
license,
Uh-huh. So of course there's gonna be a breakdown. Not only that, people are complaining about high copays. However, right, those same people who don't want to pay the high copays would pay, as you said, to go to the stretch lab or go to a Pilates studio or pay to get a personal trainer, pay to get a massage, and a monthly stuff where they go like once a month. So is physical therapy really needed in the outpatient settings 2 to 3 times a week, especially if that person has had home health physical therapy?
but you know what? It may be.
Hmm.
It may be if you paint the picture, if you paint the value, people will pay for what they value. It's
True.
just that's just what it is. So this weekend we were on, we went to the mountains. My wife's best friend and her family came with us. Her husband is a tattoo artist. He's done the
Hmm.
tattoos that I have, and we were talking, and he
Hmm.
was like, "Man, I used to charge, you know, by the time, by the design, and it brought in a lower level of clientele, like doing stuff that I didn't want to do. And
Hmm.
his mentality is he's an artist first and then tattoos second, but he's an artist.
Hmm.
So recently he changed his pricing structure because he was working with some other tattoo artists, and they're like, "Hey, I'm charging 1,500 flat, right? 1,500 flat."
Whoa.
And I was like, "Okay," but people do it. He gets people to
You know what
fly
I'm gonna
in.
go and learn to do tomorrow?
You getting one?
No, I said I'm gonna learn how to do tattoos.
Oh,
Okay.
I mean, but he's like, I'm busier than I've ever been,
Hmm.
right? People value that.
No, okay.
It's
Definitely.
always it always you will pay for what you value. I mean, we all got iPhones. Do we all necessarily need iPhones? No. But why? We value what an iPhone brings to us. I can get
Hmm.
on the internet, I can text, I can listen to music, I can do all those things. There's value there. If we value it, we'll pay for it.
Yep.
Why do people spend money on luxurious cars? They value it. So the money doesn't matter. But then you
Yep.
tell that same person that has an iPhone, like, hey, I need you to pay X amount of dollars for, I don't know, like just pick something random. Like, I'm not spending that. That's a lot of money. I'm like, what? You just spent a couple hundred over here, but spending less is a lot of money. You don't value it. You don't value it,
Yep.
you're not going to pay it. Doesn't matter what it is, right? And if you give something free, there's even less value because if the person giving it to me doesn't value it, then why the hell am I going to pay for it?
Yep.
So
Most definitely.
I just think it just boils down to, and I know Jerry talks quite a bit in this in kind of his training with uh, the front desk staff. Shout out Jerry Durham. Uh,
Hmm.
but it's value. It's value. Price is what you pay, value is what you get. And when you show people the value, they'll pay whatever they feel like they're gonna. It's I don't know. Again, I think it goes back to the stuff that we don't learn in school. So when we don't learn it in
And
school, it's very hard to pick it up unless you've got good people around you. And I've been lucky enough to have yourself and others to kind of bounce things off and to learn, um, because we there's a lot of stuff that we don't get in school that applies to day stuff.
as home health clinicians, we're in a unique position in that we get to show people that value of physical therapy first, especially like when they get home, and if they're their weakest, that's where we get to go in and prove what we can do. So if you are in that setting, that's where you should be capitalizing on letting each person know that this is what you can do. You can't go in there with this mentality that you're just doing the visit just to make money. And I guess you and I are in a unique position because we value each referral that we get because that's our business and that's how we survive. But there are people, if they don't own a business and they're working salaried for a company, if they call a patient and say, "Hey, I'm Dr. So and so, I'm trying to schedule a physical therapy evaluation or start of care with you," and the client is like, "Nah, I don't need it," and they're like, "Okay," and they just do a miss visit. You and I on the other end will be like, well, is there anything that you're struggling with in the home since you've been home that you want to get better at? And that's where I can come in and help you. So do we go the extra mile as home health clinicians to actually sell physical therapy, or we just chuck it up and be like, "Oh, the agency is going to give me another visit," that sort of stuff. So it all depends on if you're hungry for that, and again, too, what you as a clinician value. So if you don't value it, you're not going to sell it.
No, absolutely. That's a great point. That's a very good point. In home health, that's what we do. And a lot of times you ask these simple questions like, can you get up from the couch? Can you get to answer the door? And I'd be like, you know what? I've actually been having trouble with that. I
Or
can
even to
help.
get in and out of the house, or
Yeah.
even to get in and out of the
And then you
house.
tell them, I can help. They're like, really? You can't?
Mm,
A lot of times there's people that want to cut you off the phone. I'll call like, hey, my name's Alex. I'm a physical therapist. They're like, oh no, I don't need anything, or I'm moving around okay. So I'll say, hey, Mrs. Smith, I understand. I'm happy to hear that you're moving well. Can I just come by and check that off for you? Let me just come by so I can tell the doctor that you're doing good, right? Whatever it takes to get in the door, because you just got to get in
yep.
the door. Once you're in the house, it's fair game. You can get them. And more often than not, once they're like, you're there, they're like, oh man, I want you to come back. Come back.
Well,
Come see me. And that's how it is. So it's like you said, it's like you gotta be hungry for it. You gotta want to feel the urge, the need to like, no. I'm not just gonna let this one ride.
yep.
I
I'm gonna give you a recent. I'll give you a recent example. That cowboy fan that I went to see that morning. So I called him and I was like, "Hey, Dr. Monique, I'm, a physical therapist. I'd like to come out to your doctor, sent a referral for you to get physical therapy after your revision." So he was like, "Well, I've had knee surgery multiple times. There's nothing in there but a floater. I have an IV. I don't think I need physical therapy. I think I know what to do, that sort of stuff." And I was like, "Are you sure you're going up the stairs?" "Nah, I'm sleeping on the sofa downstairs, that sort of stuff." And I was like, "And you're okay with that?" And he was like, "All right, come." So that was
yeah.
that
You
was
you
my
just
way to
you gotta.
get in the door.
But
And
but what did you do? You sold yourself. And that's what
yeah,
I'm saying. Like you sold
so
yourself. We, as a profession, a lot of us just aren't comfortable doing that for whatever
yeah,
reason. Like you're not trying to sell them anything. They're not trying to buy. You're just trying to sell yourself so you can get in the door. or so that they
Yep.
show up for an appointment. But we're so like, I can't sell. Like it's like somebody said, like in PT school, like don't ever sell, because everybody's just so hesitant to sell themselves. Like I'm not even telling anybody to buy anything, right? Because I
Hmm.
can understand the apprehension with that. Like, but just sell yourself, sell your skills, sell how you can help them.
Yep.
Because if they buy that and they see your enthusiasm, they're like, well, man, damn, Alex is really pumped up about coming to see me. I guess I should let
Yep.
him in the door, you know? And
Yep. And they will be asking for more and more visits. They'll be like, hey, when you coming back?
yeah. So, but
So,
I just think it boils down to selling. We got to sell
yep.
ourselves back, because if we don't sell ourselves, guess what? Somebody else is gonna sell our skills for their benefit.
And the market is tight. And as you said, I can't tell how many times I've gone into a home and a caregiver tells the patient, Mom, your PT nurse is here, or the personal trainer is here. And I'm like, not a personal trainer, not a
Yeah,
nurse.
I always get the
I
nurse.
am a physical therapist.
I always get your nurse is here. I'm like, nah, physical therapist.
So, but the curious ones will ask the difference, and that's your opportunity to inform. And don't look at people like they're stupid when they ask questions like that. That's the opportunity for them to learn and be able to tell others of what you can do. And once they see that you're producing results and getting positive outcomes with their loved ones and themselves, they will share it. They'll be like, man, PT works. So
Yep.
we definitely have to do better. So
Good deal.
um So we are gonna start having guests on our show on the next few episodes. And I am so looking forward to it because we're gonna put some people on the hot seat and ask them some very interesting questions. Hopefully they won't back away. So looking forward to that.
All right. Yeah, it'll be fun. Try to mix it up here, and as usual, uh, listen, follow us on, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. Reach out to us. Let us know what you think, what you like, what you don't like. We want this to grow, and we need everybody's help and support for us to be able to do that.
Most definitely, most definitely. So that's a wrap for episode number 5. We do enjoy the content that we are putting out. So stay tuned. This will be on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and also LinkedIn. So follow Alex at Sports DPT. Follow me at Dr. Monique Caruth, and follow us at the Alex and Mo on Twitter. And again, we are also on Instagram as well. All right. You guys have a wonderful Tuesday evening. Peace out, and we'll see you guys next week.
Have a good one.